Hey there, Carrie Rhodes here. How did you like that intro? This is my very first video for the Not Too Shabby video design team. I have been designing for Not Too Shabby using their digital images, and now I'm going to be designing with all kinds of things from the Not Too Shabby shop. So it's very exciting, so I wanted to come on and tell you that I'm very excited. If you've not checked out the Not Too Shabby shop, I have it linked for you below. It's one of my favorite places to shop because I love Jamie, the owner of the Not Too Shabby shop. She's a super sweet person, great customer service, super good deals, and I couldn't recommend it more. So I'm thrilled to be a part of the design team. And today I'm going to be showing you an exclusive Not Too Shabby stamp set. She does have her own line of stamps. And this one is the costume party set. It's Halloween. I'm gonna make a cute slimline card, and we're gonna start out with some coloring of these cute images. Here we go. I'm starting by stamping out the images I want to use from this stamp set onto some white cardstock using some black Copic friendly ink. Once I stamped those, I decided I could not move forward without including the Sloth from this stamp set. So I added him in, and here are all the images I'm going to be using today. And let's get to coloring them. So for the little bee, I'm using some Y markers to color out some of his stripes. And I am using my tonal gray markers today for all the areas that are gray, white, or black. Tonal grays seem to be my go-to markers when I'm using gray. And I had like a dilemma here because a bee's face really is black, but I want to color it yellow. But I decided to go with the black face, just using my tonal gray markers in maybe a little bit lighter than black because I wanted also the hat to be black. So let me know what you think about how this bee turned out. I think it's my favorite image that I colored. Now on to the little bunny dressed up as a ghost. I loved this image because it reminds me of E.T., where they dress him up in the sheet and he hobbles around with them going trick-or-treating. I loved that movie. I love it now. I don't know, it's just so 80s and reminds me of my childhood. So I love it, and I wonder if you do too, because I think there's some people out there that just don't like E.T. Like maybe it scared them like it did my sister. I don't know. Let me know. So now I'm coloring the hedgehog, and I was really trying to keep the shadows on certain sides of my critters, and this one I put the shadow on the wrong side. So I'm going to show you how I fixed that. I'm using my E27 as my lightest, E49 as my darkest, and E47 as my mid-tone. So I just went over that dark line with my E27, and then when I colored this other part of the hedgehog, I went over that dark part with my lightest marker, E11, and it really softened out where I accidentally put that shadow and did not want it. So it worked out, it was saved. Now onto this little boo sentiment. I'm coloring it with my orange markers, YR markers, and coloring it so it had an ombre effect. Now somehow my camera stopped recording, so you don't see the coloring of the cat or the dog, but let's move on to the sloth. So I am giving him an orange cape and a dark gray mask, and he just turned out super duper cute. I'm going to show you every single marker with the cap on the screen, but also at the end you'll have a moment to see all the markers at once, just in case this is going too fast. Now, is this a llama or an alpaca? I looked it up so we could be informed. Alpacas have shorter ears and llamas have longer ears. So I'm pretty sure this little guy is an alpaca, and he's adorable. And when I colored him out, I made sure to color in really swirly circles to give him more of a look of being fluffy. And I think it's good. I think it turned out cute. I like him. And now for the little chick and his mask. Isn't he adorable with that mask tied around his eyes? I think these critters are all super cute. So I'll give him a little black mask, and then it's time to add some white highlights with my Jelly Roll pen. I added some to each and every of these little stamped critters, and it just brings them to life. I love adding white highlights, especially for a night scene. So here I'll show you all of them really quick. and their little highlights. Now it's time to do some cutting. So I decided I would fussy cut these. And once I cut out the very first image, I was like, nah, I think I'm going to use my scan and cut and my silhouette machine to cut these out. So I'm going to show you a brief tutorial of how to do this. I'm fairly new at it, but I am loving having this option for stamps that don't have dies and for my digital images. So I did okay there, but it was a lot of images. So what you do is you put your paper with your stamped images onto your Pic Scan mat, and then you take a picture of that with your phone. Then you open it up in the Silhouette Design Studio by clicking the Pic Scan image, and then just find where it's saved on your computer. You do have to collaborate your phone with this program before you do that. Sometimes I get this little error message that says it's not compatible, but then I can just click continue anyway and it opens. Now I'm going to open the trace window, select the images that I want to trace, and then I'm going to adjust the threshold so that it fills them in more with that yellow, but not too much that it's going to select items outside of that area. Then you select to trace the outer edge. I'm going to move this off of the paper onto the side so I can work on it because I have all these little other things that traced as well. So release the compound path by right-clicking and selecting release compound path. Then you can move each of the images individually. So I moved out the ones that I wanted to keep, and then I'm going to select all this crazy stuff left over by pressing and dragging my mouse and deleting that. I'll move the images I want back in one at a time. I'm going to select the offset panel button selection and then click the image you want to offset, click offset, and then you can adjust the distance. My distance is 0.04, and then I can remove that inner piece. I don't want that one. I'm going to move it off to the side. Then the one that is the offset I will put back around my cat, and then I'm going to select the traced line. Then I can use the arrows on my keyboard to move that around and have it right where I want it. I'm going to repeat that with all the other images, selecting that offset tool, and the distance is set to 0.04, so they're all the same, and then move those back over the stamped image using the arrows on my keyboard to make sure I have that exactly where I want it. So I'll speed up the rest of these so you can see how I do it and watch each of them be created. I did have some extra things inside that chick I had to delete. I just right-clicked on it and released the compound path to do that. And I am doing the word boo separately. I had deleted it when I deleted all that excess garbage on the screen, so you'll see me do that here in just a second. I needed to increase the threshold on this one and then trace it. So that's why that one was done separately, so I could get all around those little extra images around the word boo. And then once you have that done, you can send this to the silhouette itself. You want to make sure and select the settings for your cardstock. I always have to up the pressure of my blade, and I upped it to 6. It was not quite enough. I should have done 7, but here they are. You can see it didn't fully cut around every single image or every point on the image. So I did have to use my scissors a tiny bit on these, but it was kind of like where it got into a small detailed area. But it all worked out and was pretty easy to do, especially once you know how to do it, and then it cut it out for me. So now I'm taking my wavy stitched borders from Fawn and using my large stitched frame from Fawn to create a slimline card panel with some hills. And then once I have my hills cut out, I'm going to use some Distress Oxide inks to create a background. But first I'm going to use a circle die cut from masking paper so that I can leave a white space for my moon. So I'm using black soot as my main color on all these panels. I'll do the same on my hills, but not going quite as dark with the black soot on these, kind of giving them a gray look because I'm going over the top of them with wild honey. I wanted to give them a little bit of a glow, and I'm really going for like black, orange, and yellow as the main colors on today's card. So that's why I picked yellow instead of like a green color. I just didn't want to introduce a whole nother color. So I went back and forth between the black soot and the wild honey until I got the look that I wanted, and did that on both of the hills. And now you can see that bright white moon revealed, but I felt like it was a little too bright. I wanted to give it a little bit of a mystical look over the top, so I used the residual ink left over on my daubers to kind of soften that moon out, and then it does have a kind of a cloudy mist look over the top of it. All right, so now we're going to splatter all the things, starting with water. I spritzed it with my distress sprayer, and then you pick up the excess water with a paper towel. And I just love the look of adding water with my Distress Oxide backgrounds. And then I'm adding some liquid stardust from Fawn across the sky for kind of a starry and shimmery look. And now for my hills, I'm just gonna kind of lay them on my background to figure out how I want them to be glued together. And then I'm going to hold one side down while I glue the other side. This is a, not exactly precise method, but it ended up working in the end. And I'll glue the other side down, and once that has had just a sec to dry, I'll go ahead and trim off any part of the hill that hangs below the bottom, and we'll glue that into place right on that card base. Card front, it's the front of the card actually. And once that is all dry, I'm laying out my stamped images where I want them to go. And then once I figured that out, I went ahead and stuck them all down with some foam squares. Next, I am hand punching some little stars from this kind of silvery gray glitter cardstock. I found it at the craft store one day, and I was like, oh, I might need that someday. And I've used it a few times. It's kind of got a little bit of a lavender undertone, but I thought it would stick out really good on here and not be too bright if I used regular glitter cardstock. So there I added about, I think it was 11 stars I added to the front of this card, and then it still needed more. So I brought in some crystal gems from Honeybee. I actually got these as a free gift one time when I ordered from the Not Too Shabby shop. She always has a free gift that she sends out with your order when it reaches a certain amount. I love it. That's how I get a lot of embellishments. So I end up using the light yellow ones and not the black, and I like that better. Now I'm stamping Happy Halloween on this scrap of yellow cardstock and embossing it with some clear embossing powder that I had mixed in some fine glitter. Somehow I did not get that recorded as well. It was a very busy day at my house when I was making this card. We had a bee problem. I had people come out to take care. That was actually like wasps. So all over my front porch. So we got that taken care of, but it was a lot of stopping and starting during the making of this card. So sorry about that, but I will show you how I made it for my second project, how I embossed that sentiment. Then I added some extra images on the inside of this card to complete it, and I think it turned out so fun. So I used the same colors of Distress Oxide ink to create this background, starting with the circle and then using a scrap piece of paper to create that line for the ground, and then just going around that with my black soot really lightly. I am going to spray that with water and add some liquid stardust just to have it look the same and have the same feel as my card. Now I'm using the Special Day Tag die set from Fun Stamper's Journey to die cut out a tag and the center of the tag. I'll use that same outside piece to die cut a black tag, and then I'm going to take that frame and temporarily adhere it down to the black tag, and then I can paper piece in my rectangle in the center using that outer tag as the guide. And then I'll remove that outer piece and add a window sheet to the back of that. I couldn't find it on my desk because it's clear and it was on the white side. And once that's dry, I'm using some foam strips by Doris to create a reservoir for my shaker elements. You can see off to the side, I've picked out some fun shaker pieces. The orange and yellow ones are from Hero Arts. The little orange seed beads, excuse me, are from a friend of mine. She opened her own Etsy shop with some embellishments, some amazing embellishments. Those are from her. And then the pumpkins over in the little dish there are ones I've had for probably 87 years. I don't even know where I got them. I just keep using them, and they never, I never use them up. So I added a few of those by hand, trying to hopefully keep them kind of straight up and down. I thought it might be, I don't know, it's a shaker card. They're going to move. What was I thinking? I don't know. All right, so once those are in place, I removed the backing from my foam strips and just pieced those together, and that created my little shaker tag. I wanted to add some more of those glittery stars, so I used some glaze actually to glue them down so it would hold really well on top of the plastic, and the back of the glitter paper can sometimes have a film. So I let that dry while I stamped Trick or Treat with some VersaFine Onyx black ink. And then here's that powder I mixed myself, clear embossing powder with fine glitter in it, and then it has a nice glittery look when you turn it in the light. I love this powder for Halloween, and I've also done it with black powder, and you could probably throw glitter into any of your powders, and I know there are a ton of great embossing powders out there that already have glitter in them, so I think they're really fun for Halloween. So I'll glue that down to my tag. Isn't it cute? Oh, I love how it turned out with that little sloth on there. And then I'm going to punch a hole with my Crop-A-Dile and add some black and white twine through the top. I'm going to tie it in a really big loose bow because eventually I will tie this onto some treat, and I want to have plenty of twine ready to go for when I have that treat picked out. I'm going to add some more of those little gems in black this time around this tag for just some added interest. You know, you got to have the bling. So that finishes up the two projects for today. I hope that you have enjoyed it. I think that this stamp set from Not Too Shabby is really fun and cute. You can make cute Halloween projects or even spooky if you wanted to. So there you go. There's my two projects for my first video as a member of the YouTube design team for Not Too Shabby. I will have all the things that I use linked for you below, as well as a link to the Not Too Shabby shop, and you can use the code N2S10 to get 10% off your order at the Not Too Shabby shop. Thank you so much for watching, and happy stamping. Bye!